Hello there. In this video, I'm going to have an exam review session with a past paper. The paper that I'll do today is CIE AS Economics Paper 2 from 23 October-November exam. Let's give it a go. All right, paper 2, section A. Question number 1 is about economic growth in Taiwan. I'm answering this question after reading all the extract and analyzing data. So let me start with the first question. Question A, using the data in table 1.1, calculate the expected growth in Taiwan's real GDP in 2021 based on the latest forecast. Yeah, all right. According to the given forecast, the expected growth in Taiwan's real GDP in 2021 is 3.3%, which is the value that earned from 4.6, which is nominal, minus CPI 1.3. Question B, cite 2 internal causes of economic growth for Taiwan in 2021 and consider which of these is more likely to generate long-term economic growth. I can say that one of the internal causes is the rising capital investment. A Taiwan semiconductor producer plans to do 28 billion US dollars of capital investment, which is expected to lead to faster and fundamental economic growth. And the other internal cause would be the growth in consumption expenditure. The text says Taiwan's domestic consumption expenditure is forecast to grow by 3.7% in 2021, which is the fastest growth in 17 years, which will again work as a boost for economic growth. And the thing is, long-term economic growth is largely resulting from supply side and productivity-oriented causes, such as more and better resources available or technology and capital improvement. So I guess in that sense, capital investment is more likely to lead long-term economic growth of the country compared to short-term consumption increase. Question C, explain why the Taiwan dollar appreciated in 2020. Okay, the reason why the Taiwan dollar appreciated its value is because there was an increase in the demand for exports, especially semiconductors or electronic items, which led to an increase in the trade surplus. Thus, there was a higher foreign demand on Taiwan dollars. Question D, assess whether the effect of the appreciation of the Taiwan dollar on the terms of trade will benefit all industries in Taiwan. I'm going to start the essay with the intro defining terms of trade and currency appreciation. And in body 1, I'm going to talk about how terms of trade affect export and imports. Especially, I can explain the fact that how terms of trade can change the ratio of average export prices and average import prices. So the fact that Taiwan dollar has been appreciated is definitely going to make the export more expensive and import less expensive. So the terms of trade is going to improve. Next, the analysis will focus on the industries that are going to be benefited by the improved terms of trade and those who are not going to be benefited by the improved terms of trade. First, the industries that will be benefited will be largely consumption goods related industries like imported goods, sellers, and also the industries that are heavily relying on resource imports, they're going to be also benefited. On the other hand, the industries that will not be benefited will be the export industries, including semiconductor production related electronics goods industries. Question E, assess the possible consequences of a higher rate of economic growth for an economy such as Taiwan. The intro will introduce promoting economic growth as one of the macroeconomic objectives. And first, I will analyze the positive consequences that will come from economic growth. I can explain how a higher rate of economic growth will lead to increased both private and public sector expenditure, such as on education, healthcare, leisure, all these kind of things. So such will result in higher standard of living, more jobs created, higher incomes available, and less poverty. Additionally, I can draw an ADS diagram showing the AD shape to the right to demonstrate the analysis. Next, the analysis will be on negative consequences of higher economic growth. I should explain how a higher rate of economic growth can bring some unintended or neglected negative consequences, such as higher income inequality can be created, or environmental damages can be done, such as resource depletion and pollution. I can use a real world example of countries like China, where have experienced high economic growth, but also the following side effects as well, like air pollution or high income disparities, etc. My conclusion will say that in the short term, achieving high economic growth can noticeably create lots of positive consequences. However, in the long run, only aiming and pursuing too excessive economic growth without consideration on sustainability can bring numerous negative consequences. For section B, I'm going to go for question 3. A. Explain why a government might decide to increase its direct provision of essential goods and services, and consider whether such a policy is always likely to be successful. My intro will include the definition of direct provision and essential goods and services. And first, I can analyze the reason why government chooses to do direct provision on such goods and services and its accessibilities. Basically, the government does direct provision on certain items because they are largely merit goods, like education or healthcare, which are creating lots of positive externalities. However, they are largely underallocated due to a few reasons. Maybe because financial restraint or physical inaccessibilities. Also, when it comes to achieving economic equity and creating positive externality, government direct provision should be more successful. So I can support the analysis with our real world examples of COVID-19 vaccination that was provided through government direct provision in many countries. Next, I can analyze the reason why government direct provision is not always successful. First, the existence of government failure is not negligible, such as the time lags or administrative inefficiencies. Also, indirectly supporting such goods via subsidizing private sector can be actually more efficient and successful in terms of efficiency and quality upgrading. Also, budget spending burden and opportunity cost can be quite high. So again, I can use a real world example of NHS that suffers with staff and resource shortage currently, and its quality also largely downgrading. So I can use that as a counter example. My conclusion can say that depending on the type of goods and services, the direct provision must be carefully decided. Choosing the direction of hybrid or cooperation with the private sector can be more sustainable and wise. Question B. Government sometimes fix maximum prices on goods for different reasons. Assess whether the use of a maximum price is always advantageous. My intro will define maximum prices as a type of price control and government intervention. Maybe I can add the definitions of necessity goods and demand inelastic goods. First, I will focus on the advantages of a maximum price, such as the price of certain products, such as essential food, can be limited by the establishment of a price ceiling. So the effect of this will be pretty good, like making the product more affordable to people. So it can contribute to reduce the poverty in a country. So I can illustrate the case with a maximum price diagram showing lowered legal price. And maybe I can use real world examples like the price of medicines, necessity medicines like Tylenols that are way cheaper than the other medicines. Second, the discussion is going to be about the disadvantages of a maximum price. The thing is, the impact of the maximum price will be to create a situation of excess demand inevitably. And this could lead queuing or rationing in a market. Also, it could lead to the creation of a black market or illegal market that can make the government spend extra administrative costs to manage. So to support the argument, I can use real world examples like face masks market during the pandemic, where people had to find alternative methods to purchase and pay with way higher prices. Since there was not enough supply in the official market due to government price regulation. My conclusion will say that considering the impact given to the market, even if the intention of the government was good, without extra support or management on the supply side, the maximum price itself can create unnecessary inefficiencies. For section C, I'm gonna go for question 5. Question A, explain the difference between an import tariff and an import quota, and consider why our government would choose an import tariff rather than an import quota as a tool of protection in international trade. My intro will define import tariff and quota as tools of protectionism policies. And first, I'm going to explain how tariff works. I can explain how tariff works in a market, like what kind of impact it's going to bring, such as to domestic producers, consumers, government, and foreign producers. And I'm going to draw the tariff diagram to show the impact. Also, there can be a real-world example of agricultural goods that are tariff imposed to support the analysis. How quota works. I should explain how quota works in a market, just like I did for the tariff, like to domestic producers, consumers, and foreign producers. And I'm going to draw a quota diagram to show the impact. Perhaps I can use the example of electronics goods market that are like quota imposed to support the analysis. Last, I can explain the reason why government chooses to impose tariff over quota. First, it's apparently due to tariff revenue that government can collect. And also, realistically, it can be to prevent unstable shortage or price instability of imported goods. And potentially, it can be to avoid severe retaliation, since quota is much more excessive protectionism measure compared to tariff. Question B, assess whether the theories of absolute and comparative advantage are substantially undermined by their various limitations. Introduction will include the definitions of the theory of absolute advantage and the theory of comparative advantage. First, I can explain the assumptions underlying these theories and their limitations. Like, they only assume that there are only two products being traded between countries. Also, they assume that firms are competing only according to the theoretical advantages rather than the other excessive loyalties or powers. And also, they do not include the transport cost of trade, which must be really high. Lastly, they do not consider the various types of trade regulations and protectionism policies that can affect the cost of trade. So next, I can develop my discussion on how such features of the theories can undermine themselves. First, all of the above limitations make the real-life application of the theories unrealistic. Perhaps I can use a real-world example of trade, such as semiconductor, saying that even if theoretically certain that a country's specialization should be more efficient. In real world, protectionism measures or huge transport cost or all the other non-theoretical factors can let a certain country decide their production specialization. So in this regard, I can conclude that given that the global economy is getting more intertwined and complex, at the same time, new types of trade also occur, such as digital related, So simply considering and applying absolute and comparative advantages to determine trade specialization have become more difficult and impractical. That's why they are substantially undermined nowadays. All right, this is the end of paper 2. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.